So I want you, thanks. I want you to listen closely so we only need to play this one time.
There's a power for good in the universe, and you can use it.
Ernest Holmes. Yeah. There is a power for good in the universe, and you can use it. So what is this power that he's talking about, that Holmes is talking about? And how can I use it? How can you use it? Charles Fillmore said, God is power. Man is powerful. God is the indescribable reservoir of stored up energy, which manifests no potency whatever until set in motion through the consciousness of man, yet possesses an inexhaustible capacity that is beyond words to express. Okay, it's an unlimited reservoir of stored up energy, and I can set that energy in motion through my consciousness, my thoughts, and probably through my words too. That takes care of the how. It sounds to me like this power is a creative energy. Would you agree? So if this is a creative power and I can use it, you can use it, all of us can use it, then that gives us an element of being powerful, doesn't it? I did a little research on this idea of power as it relates to the 12 powers chart. I have a copy here and it's at the back of the room as well. I discovered that power, creative power, is recognized in the month of May. I also learned the color associated with power is purple. And the part of the body referenced is the root of the tongue. I translated that to mean my throat, my voice, my words. On this 12 Powers website that I found, it also stated that this power relates to having the ability to master or have dominion or control. And I would translate that to mean control over my thinking and my words. An affirmation was provided on the website. I'm not sure it's really clear. It says, I have the power to create my world. What would be my purpose for using this power? What would I create? What would you create for your world? Here's a bit of one of the explanations that was on the website. It's by Winifred Wilkinson Hausman. And she says, power. The word itself has a magical, mystical sound. Through the years, the idea of power has been the main goal of existence in more than one person's life. The never-ending search for power over other people. Power in the political or ecclesiastical area. Power to accomplish miracles. Power to amaze and mystify others. Power, power, power. Like a siren song, the idea has lured people on. And always in the end, those who have sought power for its own sake have found disillusionment and disappointment. She says power, we must understand, is not an end in itself, not a goal to be sought. Rather, it is simply a means that enables us to attain the end result of bringing forth God ideas on earth. It is not to be used for selfish gain or satisfaction of the personal ego. I refer to that often as Naggy Maggie. But for the forward spiritual movement of the whole. It is to be exercised not for the purpose of controlling others, but for the purpose of taking dominion over our own thoughts and feelings in order to come into a greater God awareness. It is a gift of God, and as such it must be respected and utilized to further God's good work on earth. It's a big order. There is a power for good in the universe, and you can use it. Yet we know there are those among us who utilize such powers for exactly the reasons that she told us we probably shouldn't be using them. How come it works for them? How come, when it's not for good intentions, they have access to this power too? Because this is a creative power that is a principle. It works the same for everyone. Just like electricity, it doesn't matter who turns on the switch, it's still going to work. It plays no favorites. Good guys or bad guys. The power of creation, directed by thoughts, words, feelings, and intentions, and supported by actions, will create. However, I think this ability, this powerfulness that we have access to, the power we have access to, and in being such an unlimited reservoir, I think it really should come with a warning label. There's a scene in one of the early Spider-Man movies, and Peter, the teenager Spider-Man, he's standing on the sidewalk and he's talking to his uncle. And Spider-Man is really concerned about this new ability that he's now putting to use. Is he going to be in control of it? Is he going to use it for really good purposes? How is he going to know the difference? All of these Spider-Man-y things that he's concerned about. And his uncle puts his hand on his nephew's shoulder and he says, with great power comes great responsibility. With great power comes great responsibility. It's up to each person what he or she wants to create in their lives and how they direct this creative energy. What their intentions are is what they most often see manifest or unfold in their lives. Buddha offers this perspective. The kind of seed sown will produce that kind of fruit. Those who do good will reap good results. Those who do evil will reap evil results. If you carefully plant a good seed, you will joyfully gather good fruit. Some of you might know that as the law of cause and effect, or maybe karmic law. What you give out, you get back. What you think about, comes about. Whether it's positive or negative, you direct this power of creation through your repeated thoughts and words. With great power comes great responsibility. Now, Reverend Margaret Stortz has a couple of questions for us on this topic. She says, since we know that our greatest power is most likely contained in our ability to think, wouldn't it be smart to check out what is going on in our minds? Are we wasting our intelligent energies by letting our minds go, by letting errant ideas whiz unchecked through our thoughts? Now that we know the toll the mindless, hateful, or violent thoughts can take on our bodies and our very lives, should we not make sure that what we allow to take up residence in our minds is worthy of us? We are the guardians of our minds, and we are the ones who decide upon the qualities of our thoughts. End quote. We are the guardians of our minds, our thoughts. If we want to master the power of power, we need to master our thoughts. I'm reminded of this lesson at least once a month, especially during the warm months of the year, in the spring and the summer, when the weeds begin to pop up. I find gardening, especially pulling weeds, I know it might sound weird, but I find pulling weeds when the ground has been softened by rain or the hose to be very meditative. Does anyone else like to admit to that? Okay. A couple of weeks ago, I spent 3 mornings in a row pulling weeds around our yard, different sections of our yard. These photos are from an area on the north side of our property along the sidewalk. And as you can see in the back, there's a fence there. Well, on the other side of the fence is our house and our yard and our patio. I can't see these weeds most of the time. Sometimes for weeks, as you can tell. With all the rain that we received in early May, the weeds really grew, seemingly in secret. And isn't that how our negative thinking can take over our minds and ideas? If we don't pay attention, at least every once in a while, we can start picking up unhappy or negative phrases, sarcasms, cynicisms, We can get depressed or unhappy. And it can even escalate from there to full-blown disgust and hate. It doesn't take much to trigger us sometimes. We don't know why. And it's just depending on what we're thinking about. You ever had that happen to you? You don't have to raise your hand on that one. These past couple of years have been particularly challenging for me in many ways with what's been going on in the world, not to mention just in my own life. I get to remind myself regularly to look for the good, to focus on the kindness in the world, to think about love and joy, to meditate on peace in my own life and in the world around me. I've made it a daily habit to read spiritual readings or books, to do something creative, or to say an encouraging word to someone, anyone, it doesn't matter. The grocery store clerks, they get a full, wow, you look great, you're doing good, isn't it a wonderful day, all the time, because sometimes they're the only people that I talk to during the day. And just like an annoying weed growing up on the other side of the fence, I must look at what I'm thinking, what words I'm using, and the actions I'm taking toward creating an expanded and hopefully uplifting life. My life. I'm responsible for it. And if I'm going to master the power of power, I need to put into practice every day certain ways of being and doing that create a positive energy around and through my thoughts. That's where I start. Clarissa Pinkola Estes said, one of the most calming things and powerful actions you can do to intervene in a stormy world is to stand up and show your soul. On a regular basis, I need to pull out the mental weeds of negativity, in whatever form they might appear, and replace them with what I want to experience, what I want to have come back into my life from this unlimited resource of creative energy. I know that's when my soul is happiest, when I'm being at my best self. Sometimes that might mean not reading certain articles or watching the news. It might mean limiting interaction with certain people. I'm much better at setting boundaries than I used to be. And I'm better able to express myself when it's time to make a change, when I need to remove myself from those types of influences, if I've tried everything I know to try to heal them or cooperate with someone. Napoleon Hill said, "Directed faith makes everything crackle with power." Crackle with power. Directed faith, which for me translates into an affirmation such as, I am a conduit for the creative power of the Spirit. I invite you to say that with me. I am a conduit for the creative power of Spirit. So I get to decide where to focus my attention and intention about how I want my life to unfold. With great power comes great responsibility. The other factor I want to remind you about is that the more feeling you have for your intention, your declaration, your prayer, then the more power you are pointing toward your creation. You and Spirit combine to co-create what you have in mind, what you place into the law of mind, big M. God is working through you, experiencing life as you. So put some feeling into it, some creative energy of your own into it. Pull those weeds of negativity and clean the slate. One of the things that continues to amaze me when I'm doing pretty much any chore anymore, including pulling weeds at rock borders, is how fast it goes. How quickly it gets done when I focus my attention on what's at hand. I watched the weeds in that area and around our yard grow for several weeks, lamenting about how much time it was going to take me to get them all down, how hard it was going to be. Poor me. What a joke. This particular section of yard, and it's, the length of our property, took about an hour to clear out, pull the weeds, and fill 4 trash bags full of the pulled weeds and the raked up plant debris. The rest of the yard, the other 2 sections, I only spent an hour each day for 2 days cleaning up the rest of the yard. So about 3 hours total to do what I had been for several weeks complaining about. And now it looks great. It's done for at least a couple of weeks. Did I get every single little annoying green leaf? No. Am I okay with that? Yes. I've learned to be, because I've got this OCD perfectionist thing that, rears its head on occasion. And I don't have to do it to that level. I also had a hurt hand, so it took me a while, and I did the best with what I had at that time. But I finished. I finished what I started. And I'm reminded once again that it doesn't really take that much time to keep an eye on what's going on around me and to pull things or correct things a little at a time as opposed to letting them all build up. I don't need to feel overwhelmed from every endeavor. And the other thing I've experienced and love seeing happen over and over again is the speed at which spirit shows up in life. When I make a decision to create something in my life, and there's power, and there's passion, and there's clarity and purpose about it, the universe shows up so fast that sometimes I'm playing catch up with my own dreams and trying to get things done. It's amazing. So directed faith, just like the dandelion, persistent, undeterred. It only knows to grow, to be a dandelion. And with that same kind of directed intention, thoughts, and actions, we can create amazing results in our lives. I know you have. And then we can rest and meditate before moving on and picking up the task or the next task again. We can get back at it. We are co-creators of our lives. What could be better than that? This is all power, unlimited, generous, and ours for the asking to create our heartfelt desires. This is not some kind of wimpy God power. This is all power. We simply use our free will to direct it in the direction of our attention, of our desires. And we get to co-create. It's an amazing opportunity for each one of us. It's also a significant, what? Thank you. Please be aware of that. And it's a good thing, don't you think? That not every single thought of ours comes into manifestation. Here's another short bit from Winifred. Power is one of the 12 attributes of man to be awakened by our higher self and developed as part of our spiritual nature. It's an important gift, but it is to be used in conjunction with the other 11 qualities in man. So if you want a reminder about the other 11, you can take a look at the chart. I'm also happy to share the website that I found this information on after the service. One of the ways to stay open to this power is through prayer and meditation. In this way, we become more receptive and to that still small voice, direction, guidance. The trick is we actually have to listen to that voice. When we fill ourselves with this creative power of good, when we come from and express as our spiritual source more often than we don't, then we become a power channel, a conduit, and are in a position to release unlimited good in our world for ourselves and for those around us. That ripple effect that we're familiar with. We can come from a weed-free zone because we've done the hard work of forgiveness and release. We learn to master the power of power and to use it in the world for good, for our benefit, and to be the example we want to see in the world. For me, that's to serve and help others, to grow in consciousness and love and joy, to learn and to teach. There is a power for good in the universe, and you can use it to create whatever it is you put your mind to, put your thoughts upon, your intention and attention, your actions, your words, and directed faith. A friend of mine once told me that faith is walking to the edge of the cliff. Faith is walking to the edge of the cliff and taking one more step. I've also learned that you can't have fear and faith at the same time. You must choose one or the other. Now, just saying that aloud, you wouldn't think there'd be much of a decision, right? Who would want to choose fear? And yet, I assume we've all had those moments in our lives when fear showed up, unannounced, full regalia, on the portal of your mind, strangling the words in your throat, your power center, making your heart beat in erratic rhythms, and stopping your breath. I know that feeling. I don't like that feeling. When fear takes over your entire being. Why would any one of us choose fear over faith? What does it take to step away from fear? To move in the direction of where faith resides, where power reigns. I believe it's different for everyone. When we learn to trust, to have faith, that this creative and powerful energy is unlimited, that it never tires or wears down, that we can never run out of it. When we think about those things, then it seems a little silly that we might complain about being too tired to face a challenge or something that's giving us a little angst in our life. Sadly, we give up on ourselves. God does not. Remember to practice, the practice of boundaries, the practice of pulling out unlimited or negative thoughts from your minds and replacing them with clarity and openness and uplifting ones. The practice of watching your words, what you say, for they reveal your thoughts and beliefs. The practice of being attentive to what you choose to create in your life, so Spirit can show up and be there helping you, cheering you on. We have the power, the divine power, to help us create a loving, peaceful, joyful part of the world. The part that has you in it, wherever you show up. We can bring that divine light with us wherever we go. And we can shine it towards the future, on the present, and in reflections of the past. Which brings us to thinking again about Memorial Day. Thank you for that weekend this morning. This Memorial Weekend, we remember and honor the men and women who died while serving in the U.S. military. This holiday began in 1971. Has anyone here lost a loved one in any military conflict or war? I ask that we hold anyone who has in our hearts the memory of those people, of the departed. And I truly, truly pray that in the future there are fewer wars, fewer casualties, and many more survivors. And while we can make a difference individually, there is exponentially more power in our prayer when we do it together and as one mind. We can raise the consciousness. We can change what is happening in this world by adding our higher and expanded thoughts to the collective consciousness. We can make a difference, one thought at a time, one prayer at a time, as you and I learn to master the power of power for good. Let's use it. Let's have a closing prayer. So in this moment, I give thanks. And I recognize the peace, the love, the joy, the power of creation. I am one. You are one. We are all one in that power, in that divine intelligence that lives, moves, and has its being within us, as us, expressing in this world. We put on these earth suits and we go forth and express to our highest and best consciousness our most loving and powerful words of creation. We speak truth, we speak love, we speak joy, and so much more. We create, I create, you create the world in which we live. It comes from us. And if we don't like what we're creating, we can change it. I realize this power, this divine energy, this unlimited reservoir is within me, is within you. And I say thank you. Thank you for the awareness. Thank you for the way the law works. Thank you for the opportunity to gather together to pray and to acknowledge one another in community. And I release these words. They cannot return to me void. They must create. That is the law. And for that I truly am grateful. And I invite you to join me in saying, and so it is.